All right, welcome to this episode of Hammering Down. I'm your host, Keller Hodges, and I am joined by one of the hosts of Fat Lads Go and Goal, a podcast I listen to every single time they come out with something. One of the most influential blues fans, at least in the American side of things, Mr. Mark Watson. How you doing, man?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Just got off work. Just glad to be off.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
So, if you haven't listened to the Fat Lads if their podcast, something they always do, or almost always, is have some kind of drink review. So to make sure things start off with a happy note, because I'm sure it won't stay like this forever, we're going to start off with a drink review. What do you have today, Mark?
I have one. It's actually top of our. We do a beer league, and it's top of our beer league. I've got Skinny Lager, which is absolutely bloody lovely. You probably can't get it over there. You can get it on Amazon in the UK. Whether you can in the States, I'm not sure, but it is gorgeous. It scored way above all the commercial brands, and it's a diet beer, which being a fat git like me is helpful. But no, it's crisp, it's fresh, it's light, it's lovely.
Good to hear. Mine I'm having today is Lazy Magnolia Southern Pecan. It's a brown ale. It's out of Mississippi. Luckily, it's not or unfortunately, it's not an Alabama brew, but it's just right up with our sister state. So Mississippi can do one thing right, and it's brew a good beer. So
Well, what would you give? We always rate them out of 10, and give me a rating out of 10 for that, and I'll stick it on the beer league.
this is not my favorite beer of all time, but this
No?
one is a solid. I'll give this one a 9. Also because of bottling, it tastes good. It's about an 8. But also,
Mm.
if you can't really see it, but it tells you exactly what it's perfect to eat with. So
Oh, okay.
this pairs great with steak, burgers, and chocolate, and
Wow, okay.
it'll even tell you what day it was brewed and bottled.
Wow, okay, fair enough. As well, this one's got a load of chemicals written on it. Um, There could be chemicals, it could be a foreign language, I don't know. I ain't got my glasses on. Either way, I will stick that on the beer review for the next episode.
Good to hear. All right, so let's just go ahead and start with this. And this is something that I've never been out of the country before. So I've never experienced football outside of America. For you guys with the Blues with Birmingham City, you guys have all sorts of reputations. One of my favorites that I've heard is that you guys are some of the most violent, just starts all kinds of fights over there, which I think is awesome. And not only that, you guys take a lot of pride in that. Generally, what's the match day experience like for you guys, and is that accurate?
Yeah, just as a disclaimer, in case my employer's watching, not me, I don't fight, but we are known to fight a bit. It's more of a 70s and 80s thing than anything. You will get the youth of today who claim that they're still, we call the Zulus our hooligan faction, I suppose, which comes from the fact that we were one of the first football support groups to have members of all ethnicities in it, which is where they got the Zulu warriors from. But they're not really around now. Obviously, policing is a lot better. There's cameras at every game. You go to a game now, and there's police standing in the like looking at the away end with a camcorder, and they're filming everyone and everything. So you can cause trouble, but you are on camera, and you're not going to get very far from that ground after. Nowadays, a standard game day is go to the pub, drink as much as you can, as quick as you can, but not so much that you can't stand up and can't physically get into the ground after. I don't know what it's like for you, but we can purchase beer on the concourse in the back of the ground. We can't take it pitch side. You can't drink beer in view of the pitch in English football.
Really?
Really, you can in rugby and cricket and all those, but football garnered such a reputation for violence that now it doesn't really make sense because you can get absolutely paralytic out the back, take 2 steps forward, and suddenly you can't drink there. It makes no sense, but those are the rules, and that's what they stick by. And then you watch the Blues kick off at 3. You watch them concede at 3:05. They probably concede again at 3:10 and 3:15. By 3:30, you're pretty suicidal. Half time, go and drink a bit more. Watch us probably concede more in the second half. No, it's not really that bad. And then, yeah, that's it really. And then a lot of people in Birmingham stay out and go uptown. There's quite a few clubs around the ground, um, but not me because I'm too old for that now.
So most of my listeners are from America, but I'm assuming, I mean, I have a few that listen from the UK, from England, and I'm sure with you being on, I'm going to have a lot more. So I'm probably
Hopefully.
going to be educating, some people on your end. For us, the big thing, this kind of starts, I think, with American football tradition. I know it's massive here, is the idea of a tailgate. Basically, everybody just gets into a parking lot, they all start cooking food together. They all start grilling out, making barbecue, making burgers, whatever. All everybody kinds of it's a BYOB, bring your own beer kind of thing, and everybody just sits around and has a good old time until we have our march inside the stadium, in which we not only can we have beer next to the pitch, but if you have so the way our stadium's set up is that you can sit on the field itself. There's a on-field seating and then there's stadium sitting.
Mm.
And if you're on the field, typically you have a little bit more money, and
Oh, it's okay.
you'll have a waitress or a waiter come up to you and just ask you if
Really?
you want beer. Yeah, they'll just be like, "Oh, we'll just add this to your tab or just pay us right now," and they'll give you
Bloody
beer
hell.
right there. So, something a little different.
Wow. Yeah, that's yeah. The idea of me trusting football fans with like open flames before a game just wouldn't happen. Like no. Um, yeah, being able to bring anything inside the ground um, has the potential of being used as a missile. Essentially, there was one game. I forget who it might have been against Villa or someone like that, and our owners decided to put these. They're like paper clappers, basically. They're like fan shaped, and you're supposed to hit them against your hand, and it makes a noise. But they also get thrown very far, and within 5 minutes, the pitch was just littered with these things. In fact, I'm sure it was the Villa because the corner flag was just full of these paper things. And yeah, I think the club got fined for that. But they learned let's not let any fans take anything in. It's not. I'm probably painting it really badly. It's not that aggressive. I don't know. It depends who we're playing.
Well, see, for us, something that's kind of hard to explain, I guess, to fans who didn't grow up with without a team for all your life. Because if I remember right, Birmingham City were founded in what, 1875?
1875. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Legion were founded 2018.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different thing because for a lot of us, there was a team before the Legion.
Mm.
They were the Hammers, but that even goes back to 14. The idea of football being picked up and being a big tradition is one thing. For us, American football is our thing that goes all the way back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for everybody to understand, I guess, just how passionate you're supposed to be. Um,
Yeah. I think part of what it is as well. America is such a vastly huge place. It's monstrous in size. With us on my street, there will be Villa fans. And when I grew up, there would undoubtedly be Liverpool fans and Man United fans, the glory hunters. You at my school, there will be probably fans of 7 or 8 teams, but they're all living on top of each other, and this rivalry is within your own family. Whereas you guys, when your local rival being Memphis, they are what? How many hours? 4 hours away, something like
yeah.
that. The chance of you working with a Memphis fan, for example, is probably quite slim. I work with 3 Villa fans, a Wolves fan, and a Baggies fan, and 2 Walsall fans, which are all local Birmingham-ish teams, like West Midlands teams. And I think you only really your banter is online. You don't. I'm guessing you don't really have away fans, do you? Particularly.
We actually do.
Yeah.
It's it's really big in MLS. You have a lot more away fans then. Last year
Mm.
wasn't a really good representation because we had a COVID year, even though fans were
Yeah.
allowed. But I mean, away fans are big, especially ones that are in the southeast.
Mm.
So, like you said, our biggest rivals are, the closest one we have is 2.5, 3 hours away.
Mm.
That's the next closest team that we are eligible to play. So usually if it's within 8 to 10 hours, there's a good away day.
Mm.
But anything further than that, it's a pretty rough chance because our first year, 2000, I guess 2019 would have been our first year. We had a few people go to Canada for
Bloody
Ottawa
hell.
Fury, which was, uh, and that's a solid, I think it was an 18-hour drive.
Oh my god.
And
I've never driven that far in my life.
imagine, but that's the thing is that those people are in our league. It's not like that was a Champions League or a
Yeah.
Europa Day, Europa League. That
Mm.
was a team we're supposed to play twice that year.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I mean, if you look at, I mean, one of the loudest set of fans, certainly I've been sat next to, is Nottingham Forest. They always, I'm not really rivals with them in any way. They're from the East Midlands, we're from the West. Um, but that is, I mean, Nottingham is maybe 55 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes away, depending on the traffic. You've got Stoke, who are essentially an hour away. West Brom is 10 minutes, Villa is 10 minutes, Wolves is 40 minutes. So all these, they're so on top of each other. When we have away days, we take coaches and coaches and coaches, and the police actually restrict how many numbers we're allowed to take because we take too many. When Villa came to us, I think we restricted them to about 2,000 or something, and they did the same to us because they've made mistakes in the past where they've let us on. There's a famous night game. I think it was either when we first went back up to the Premier League or a cup game. I can't remember, but if you Google it, you'll find pictures online of a line of police stretching across the pitch because on one half of that line is Blues fans, the other half of that is the Villa fans in the away end, and they're
Wow.
just trying to kill each other.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, see, it's kind of hard to even relate, I guess, from being that close. For in Alabama, college football is the big king.
Mm.
Um, just for example, how many people does St. Andrews hold?
Oh, now you're asking. I think about, is it about 26, 27, something like that? It may be less than that. You know, it's not loads.
So if you're in Auburn University, if you are a fan of that team, that's uh, that is the University of Alabama, the school in which I attend. That's our
Mm.
big rival. In the state of Alabama, you'll hear Alabama versus Auburn. That's the big
Mm.
thing. Um, they hold 87,000,
Jesus Christ.
and they're the small ones. They're the
Oh
baby
my God.
brothers. For us, the University of Alabama, we hold 101,000,
Oh my God.
and it's packed out every single Saturday. And that's our local rival. That is our in-state rival. But from Tuscaloosa, which is where I live,
Mm.
to Auburn is 2.5 hours away.
Yeah. See, yeah, teams 2.5 hours away from us are teams like probably Manchester, which we would never ever think of as a rival at all. But like I say, it's just the geography of both places. I mean, I talking of rivalries, I went to the MLB, Major League Baseball. They came over and did the London series. Must have been
uh,
2 years ago now.
you went to the Boston Yankees game then?
Boston Yankees game. I went to the first one of those. I didn't even realize I actually applied for no, I entered a competition to win tickets, and then randomly got an email like 6 months later saying you've won. And I thought, won what? This isn't. I don't trust this at all. So I'm on the phone for ages, phoning everyone trying to work out if it's real. Turns out it was real, and I went there. It was full of Yankees and Red Sox fans. I couldn't believe how many Americans were in this little building in England. And next to me was a Yankees fan, and he was talking to me. He said, "Who do you like football?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Who do you support?" I said, "Oh, Birmingham City." He said, "Who are your rivals?" I said, "Aston Villa." He said, "Oh, well, you see, we're Yankees fans, and Boston Red Sox, they're like Villa." I said, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "Mate, last time we played Villa, one of our fans ran on the pitch to punch their star player.
I've seen that
Don't
video so many times.
Yeah, I understand that Red Sox and Yankees have a rivalry, and it's more, it seems more of a sporting rivalry as is just straight up hatred. Like, yeah, unwarranted hatred at times, I suppose. But literally everything Villa do, we will analyze and we will find faults with, and we will use against them. a deep-seated hatred.
It's kind of funny because you mentioned the baseball rivalry. For
Mm.
some, like the Yankees and the Red Sox, that's one of the most famous rivalries around here. And they, the difference, baseball rivalries are so fun to me because you do have some groups that hate each other. Um, like I think generally the LA Dodgers and San Francisco Giants, like there was a lot of bad blood between those. It
Mm.
got pretty it got pretty bad between the Yankees and the Red Sox, but most everything's on the field. And baseball is weird because most of these rivalries start because a pitcher is throwing something at someone else,
Mm.
which I mean, some of these pitchers out here are throwing the ball 100 miles per hour at other players, which
Them,
I think
yeah,
is
yeah.
like what 130 kilometers
Mm.
at other people's heads
Mm.
because they don't like them or that they stared at a baseball for too long.
Yeah.
They're just so weird. Baseball's weird, man.
Yeah, I think again with that, you got Red Sox and Yankees played each other God knows how many hundreds times, and they get to the World Series. That's 7 games they're essentially going to play against each other. I think it's 7. We play Villa once in a blue moon. Even if we're in the same league, that's twice, and we're going to play them at our place once in that year. Our season, whether people will admit it or not, both Villa fans and Blues fans, our season centres around that game. That is the biggest game of the season. And it probably is the same with you and Memphis, to be honest.
Memphis is kind of a funny rivalry. It kind of got picked up by you guys as our biggest
Yeah,
rival because it kind of is,
yeah,
but uh, that that came before the Legion were
mm,
around. This was the Hammers, which was a small, I guess, if you want to think of it in divisions. We were a fourth slash fifth. Started as a fifth division club and then went on to fourth. And that's where that rivalry started. And they would bring fans, we would bring fans to their place. It always got heated, and it was always a big to do. Um, and we hated them. And then when we came, this is the screwy part about American or football in America is franchises and people buying whatever and forgetting about the past. You know, we I don't like saying it this way, but we bought our way into the second division.
mm.
And that's what happened.
That's
And
football in general, though. Everyone's trying to do that. Again,
true,
no one's to admit it, but we're all waiting for some rich oil baron to buy us,
true.
essentially. Yeah.
Because there is no pro rel here, you
Mm.
just buy your way into a league. And Memphis did the same thing. The difference is for us, we kept our roots. Our new owner came down and met us and talked to the fans one on one. Had a not just a Q&A, but a meet and greet where he had a beer with us. He shook all of our hands, answered all of our questions. He wanted to keep the old team alive, even
Mm.
though they weren't the Hammers. He wanted to keep that tradition alive. Memphis said, screw what was going on before. We're the new guys. And that part of their owners, you may remember him when he was over there, Tim Howard. He was
Yeah.
keeper over there for in
Yeah.
England for a
At
while.
Everton, yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up playing against the Legion. We scored 3 goals against him, and he sucks.
I
Um,
stayed up late to watch that game as well
yeah, what
on
a
YouTube.
fantastic.
Yep.
But yeah, so they totally disregarded their history. And so a lot of the fans that we had hatred with didn't stick around because it didn't feel like their club anymore. I would say it's kind of like AFC. I'm going to say it wrong. Is it AFC in Wimbledon and
Wimbledon and MK Dons,
MK
yeah.
Dons? You know, they're essentially they were the same group,
Mm.
and then the other group feels like they're fake. You know, like
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
plastic fans.
Yeah.
And that's what Memphis became. They
Mm.
became the MK Dons.
Mm.
And so their original fans said, screw that. So the team we had and the fans we hated weren't there anymore. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we tried to keep it alive and they didn't care because they didn't know about the rivalry before. So we're in a weird place right now when it comes to that.
Mm. Hopefully we helped to fan the flames of that a bit.
Dude, I remember we got messages and we were like, yo, please tell them to stop. And which made us go, hey guys, keep going. This is awesome. Keep go.
That's made my night, that is. Good.
just kind of last thing when it comes to like American football culture and differences, for you guys, it's stand and sing and chant for the full 90 plus minutes, even before you come into the stadium and then afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of one of the things that started this whole thing was it got picked up by somebody over there when it was
Yeah, did you?
an abysmal chant going on. Barely anybody was
Over
singing.
here, it's a riot. Over there, it's a choir. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and not many
Yeah.
people were singing along.
We no. See, obviously, you can bring instruments in. We can't
Mhm.
because a drumstick is a weapon essentially. We've got. You seem to have it again back in baseball. We've got what you call football Twitter. Football Twitter is essentially kids. Some of these kids are hilarious. They are genuinely really funny. Most of them are annoying, but you get the odd one who has just got typical British sense of humor. And you have it in baseball as well, where a lot of it is you insult people, but go over the top, unnecessarily over the top, which is what we ended up doing with Memphis. It was one of them that picked it up and shared it. And it kind of feels a bit bad because it wasn't necessarily done in a kind-hearted way,
Nah.
shall we say. It was done in a mocking way,
Oh, it
if we want
was.
to be honest about it. But just because they did it in a mocking way doesn't mean that we necessarily saw it like that. We didn't even know Birmingham, Alabama had a football team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were obviously seeing that. And people are jumping on board, and I was monitoring what was going on, essentially. Believe it or not, my claim to fame, it was actually me that asked one of you guys who your rivalry was. And when the answer came back, Memphis, that was it. That it just all gloves were off. We know nothing about Memphis. All I know about Memphis is I used to be a big WWF fan. I know Jerry Lawler is a god there. So Jerry Lawler is my number one target now. Jerry Lawler and Elvis, they're getting it. Whatever the worst possible things I can think to say about Lawler and Elvis are happening. Then when I found out about the Peabody Ducks and all that, it was just it's all ammo to throw at them. And what was great is you guys as a culture are so kind-hearted and
Yeah.
welcoming of other people, and we're not. We're bastards. We found this rivalry, and some of the stuff I was in bits laughing at. Some of the most offensive stuff, which I won't repeat on here, but some of the most offensive, unnecessarily aggressive things. Like Memphis we'd have some Memphis fans say, "Yeah, well, Legion haven't done this before," and the answer would be, "Yeah, well, your moms are this," and there's no context there. They're not related. Memphis fans would throw a stat at us. We throw a barrage of swear words back at them, and it was magical. It was so nice. It was nice seeing English football get released on the innocents, basically.
So it was kind of funny. Uh, I was on board with this.
Mm,
I'm a big fan of football Twitter.
mm.
That like I love that stuff, and it's kind of strange because over there it's accepted, here it's kind of bad. So like my goal is I want to be a teacher. Well,
Okay.
somebody sees me saying some of these things
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Memphis, it's like, oh, you can't work with the youth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
so but we all had our threads. We had our different boards that we were posting stuff on. We're like, these guys are hysterical. We love this, and I'm sure you realize this, but the Magic City Brigade, which is our big supporter group, our admin on our Twitter, he's British. He
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
he from Bristol, pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Oh, no,
Uh,
I did know that. I did know that. Yeah, I did know that.
So there were some of these things like he was cracking up at because
Mm,
like we had a few people who not only is the Legion their first ever experience with football, the idea of someone over the seas
yeah.
is talk like what's going on over there totally foreign. So he was like having to decipher things of like what does this even mean? Like what? Oh, it was cracking me up. I was a big fan of it. We There were a few things that we definitely took from that initial barrage, and
Mm,
we just started yelling it at their players when we were in
really?
person, and we were just reciting things that just whatever we could find, and there was a lot of dirty looks from people who were not
I
aware
bet.
of what was happening.
Yeah.
So you have people who are coming out thinking that football is a family friendly thing and you'll never hear anything bad because it's we went to our 6-year-old soccer game.
Yeah.
And they were like, and then they were just hearing whatever, just
Yeah.
whatever they could find. It was awesome.
I did have loads. Honestly, it was happened over about 3 days, and it was the funniest 3 days of my life. I was in tears, and it's not something I'm proud of because it was very immature. But at the same time, my God, was it funny? I wish I could remember some of the stuff that was being said. The only one I remember is at one point I tweeted something like, "The only thing Jerry Lawler is king of is his little sister's virginity," or something like that, which is horrific. And it just, even typing it, I thought, this is horrible. This is too far. Send. I don't know. Was it? It might. No, it could have been. Could have been mother. I don't know. It was a family member. I'm sure it was. But yeah, we went for it. And the more the Memphis fans didn't understand it, the funnier it was. So the more they do it, and our football Twitter contingent just took things so far across the boundary. And you know what? Genuinely, we're not like that as people. We'd never say that in the street. We'd never say that to your face. But for some reason, just the fact that there were some lovely Americans who didn't quite understand what was going on was the funniest thing in the world to us.
I
So sorry.
No, the funniest thing to me was out of the woodworks, there was a singular Memphis fan that was also a Villa fan, and
Oh,
oh man, I guess you didn't catch up on this thread,
no.
but the other hundreds did, and I think within 2 days he deleted his account because he just kept getting DMs from people. It was ridiculous.
Honestly, as I say, it's so mature. And explaining this to other people since, I've thought, Mark, what are you doing with your life? Go outside. There's a whole world out there. But no, at the time, and to be honest, now it was so funny. But
Well,
but then from that grew a genuine affection, and that's what's nice about it. It started off as our football Twitter essentially taking the piss out of you, us lot jumping on and seeing that I've now got the opportunity to hate someone 4,000 miles away. Brilliant. Um, but then what we're left with once all that's died down is this kind of bond over nothing more than the fact that we both called Birmingham.
yeah,
But now I'm sat here at midnight talking to you on a podcast, and it's lovely and it's genuinely nice. And we've got our fans buying your merch, not me, because your shipping rates are ridiculous.
yeah,
Um,
I know.
why both clubs didn't buy a bulk load of something to put in the shop is beyond me. Because once both clubs got on board, I think Mikey Lopez did that video with him wearing the blue shirt saying "keep right on." Both clubs acknowledged it and recognised it. I don't understand why they didn't at least buy a load of caps or something or scarves. But I would have bought one, but I can't justify 30 odd quid in shipping. But I know fans who have, and vice versa. I know fans who've sent stuff to each other, and it's nice. It's nice to care about someone I've never met.
Yeah, for sure. I've sent hats and scarves over.
Mm,
It's been nice, especially since I don't care about like the small bit of fee. It doesn't matter to me
mm.
too much, but I totally get international shipping's a,
Not only that, the standard price of your shirts is
I
insane.
I trust me. I know. This is one of my biggest rants. If you're with the front office, listen to me because there's a good chance of that. I'm not sorry for what I'm going to say. It's way too expensive. I mean, they
Is
really are. But the difference is that, and we're going to get to the Blues' financial situation, which is something.
fun.
Um, Merchandise legitimately keeps the Birmingham Legion afloat
Mm,
because if you look up just how many teams fold
yeah.
here in the U.S. in second division, it's ridiculous. I remember 2016, the defending champions had to fold because they didn't have
Mm.
enough money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these shirts are quite literally funding them, which you would
Mm,
think lower prices more people would buy,
mm,
but the city of Birmingham is not massive as a relative to other markets.
mm,
So you wouldn't have as many people buying them anyway. So you might as well get the most money as you can. I think
mm.
it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid, but what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, you acknowledge it's stupid and ridiculous, but you're also sat there wearing one of the shirts. So
I
the
am.
problem is, and I'm not having a pop at you for that. I'm exactly the same. I moan about the price of blue shirts every single time I walk in that shop. I'm currently sat here in a blue shirt. I'm the mug who's paying it. So unfortunately, they are going to pay that. The difference is we will claim that we need to sell these shirts to stay afloat. I don't believe that. You probably genuinely do,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's the reason I buy it, is because I
Mm,
know that we actually need it, and that's why I feel okay doing it.
yeah,
Um,
which makes sense.
so kind of just before we move on, something I wanted to bring up when we first started was you guys kind of poking fun at us not really singing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so it starts off with American football culture, at least to me. I guess I'm a enabler. I guess I'm in the marching band at the University of
Okay.
Alabama, and after every single play, the band plays a little short tune in
Mm,
which the fans
join in.
follow. They say some kind of chant or they'll sing along with it, and then once the song's over, they'd stop.
Yeah,
Or
you do that. There's a Gary Glitter song, isn't there? I think you call it the Charge song. I think.
yeah, we don't play
Du,
that.
du, hey, du, that one.
Yeah, so basically, except for football,
Mm,
everything is a call and response, I guess, if you want to say.
mm,
So we'll play a song, the fans will, so whatever, they'll be like, yeah, roll tide, or which is our out University of Alabama's thing.
mm.
They're like, yeah, roll tide, or they'll sing something along, or go first down, something like that. And the only thing that they'll actively sing along with us is our fight song. That's
Right.
the only thing that they'll actually sing along with us as we play it, as opposed to afterwards.
Mm,
So then you move to football, where there's nobody giving you a song to say anything after.
mm.
It's everybody trying to create the song, which is a totally, completely different atmosphere than what you guys have over there, which is we are the song, we are the atmosphere, as opposed to we react to the atmosphere, which is a really weird difference in the US compared to you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite into my basketball. I wish the games weren't so long, and that goes for all American sport. I wish the games weren't so long because it's hard enough keeping up when they're on in the middle of the night, let alone 3 times a week, 3 hour games. But the impression I get as a complete ignorant Brit is that a day at the baseball or the basketball or whatever for you is a day out for entertainment, essentially. As is almost the way I always think of English football is you've got a bunch of working class blokes who spend Monday to Friday getting shouted at by their boss. They may not like the misses, like they just have a torrid time of it. Saturday is their chance to go and shout at a bunch of people and call them every name under the sun, and it's almost cathartic. That's their whether they we don't obviously really think the referee's a wanker, but obviously he is. It's my chance to
Yeah.
tell him he's a wanker in case he wasn't aware. And that's essentially what Saturdays are for us. Sport is almost to be honest, it's a chore at times. You go because you feel you should, whereas for you, or my opinion of basketball, for example, is it's a whole day out. When I used to get paid for the NBA Live Pass, you'd see between all the timeouts and all the stoppages in play, let's do a competition, let's do a dunk contest, let's spin the wheel and see who wins, let's fire shirts into. None of that in England
Yeah.
at all. When they did that at the baseball that I went to, I couldn't believe how many Americans were storming down to the front to get these shirts, whilst all the Brits were way too polite drinking our cups of tea. We're not doing that. We will stand and politely wait for the shirt to come to us.
And it
It
didn't.
just the whole thing seemed yeah, it didn't. The whole thing seemed completely. Yours is nicer, to be honest. It's a nicer, family-friendly atmosphere, and a lot of our singing comes from the fact that it is generally, particularly on away days, you don't get that many kids going. It is blokes who are drunk getting things off their chest, and that's where the magic comes from. To be honest, that's where when we played Harley Dean, our captain, although captain is I use that word loosely, we bought him from Brentford. When he came to to us from Brentford, he did an interview, and he said, "I'm glad I've gone to Birmingham. This team is 10 times better." Brentford came to us, beat us 3-0. So one goal goes in, they're singing 10 times better, we're winning 1-0, and that's just completely come off the top of their heads. Second goal goes in, 10 times better, we're winning 2, and it just goes on, and you get these kind of spur of the moment funny songs. And I genuinely don't know who makes them up, but there is someone in there, usually pissed out of his head, making up songs on the spot, and it's great. But at the same time, a lot of them are very offensive, and you wouldn't want to repeat on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I this is before the Legion days. This is kind of the last thing before we move on to Birmingham City and what's going on. But this is back in the Hammer days. We, I remember we got not chewed out. We definitely got told very nicely, I guess you would call it, by the owner of the group or of the club. Hey, please stop telling Memphis about their murder and rape rates. Like that's not very. Please don't. Please stop singing about that. We cannot tell them how many heroin overdoses they had last week. We need to stop.
Yeah, with us, and I understand it, to be honest, because football over there is, it's obviously not a new sport, but to your city, I suppose it kind of is in a way, much more so than us. Your owners have got to sell it to families because it's families that spend the money. It's families that buy the shirts and the drinks and the sweets and all that stuff. With us, I go to Blues because my dad made me, and my son will go to the Blues because I will make him, whether he likes it or not. And it's kind of, I suppose, English clubs have already got that revenue coming in. Your lot need to appeal to families, as have just accepted long ago that families do not want to be in this environment. And the kids usually that are there are worse than the adults anyway. So,
Well, you're speaking of revenue, and I think that's a great transition to talk about the not so fun part of this podcast. Hey, if you're listening to this and you want to just stick with the happy stuff, stop now. um, the finances over there, man, couldn't give £500 to the women's club to play Villa. Like
yeah,
what?
with okay. So on one hand, that is annoying. That's very annoying, and it's cheap and it's wrong. On the other hand, I do take slight issue with the fact that, I mean, on our podcast we have a guy, Chris Pugh, who is very into the women's side of the game. He will tell you everything about everyone. He knows them all. He knows a lot of them personally as well. He cares a lot about that. The problem is when things aren't going well on the men's side, suddenly fans of the men's side look at that and say, "Oh, and I've done that." Well, you didn't care about the women's team last week, and you won't care about them next week. So don't use this as a stick to beat the owners with. That being said, the fact that we couldn't pay 500 quid to relocate is ridiculous. Yeah, it's. I suppose it's not a priority to them. The women's game hasn't been a priority to them for a while now. A fair few of our players left, I believe, at the end of last season. We essentially had to rebuild the squad. We brought in a woman called Marta something, a Spanish girl. She was useless. None of the players wanted her. We've now got Carla Ward, who's come from, I think it's Sheffield United, who the players are actually playing for. We've got the makings of a good women's team, but like you say, why wouldn't the club put their hands in their pocket? And it's embarrassing, to be
I,
honest.
you know, I before I with Blues, I have a kind of a soft spot now. I kind of find myself feeling like, I hope they do well.
Mm.
But since I was real little, because we didn't have a team in Birmingham, I grew up rooting for Palace.
Okay.
I had a friend whose dad had a weird station that followed the championship. I don't know why,
Right.
but he
Okay.
had it, and I thought Palace was cool. I thought the idea of having an eagle was fun. I don't know. I
Yeah.
was 5.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that worked. They fly at the start of the games and everything. Yeah.
so, but I know that they've opened up their women's team to be sponsored and funded by fans, which
Mm.
I've personally helped contribute to. I mean, the Palace USA guy, he does a lot of work over here. He personally helps support the
Okay.
goalkeepers for the women. Why Birmingham City doesn't just say, "Hey, fans, if you let's not only raise money for them,
Mm.
but hey, you can be more invested in this group because I bet if people give $20, a little bit here, a little bit there, like $20 here or whatever, surely
That's
more people would care."
They won't. Unfortunately, they won't. The women's game is so, it's not that young, but the league structure's changed a few times. It's seen as a non-entity, unfortunately, which again it feels bad to say. but it is. I genuinely don't think our fans would pay, and that's not us, just us. I think that's fans across the board. We have enough fans that go to the women's game and pay for the tickets. Whether you'd get enough fans to put their hands in their pockets to fund it altogether is debatable,
See, that's
unfortunately.
something strange over here in the U.S. is because we take big pride in our, U.S. women's national team.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
won 5 World Cups at this point.
Mm,
Just something ridiculous, and they're really good. For University of Alabama, we don't have a men's team because scholarships in Title IX. I don't think that's a thing for you guys over there, but essentially we have to give the same amount of scholarships to women that we do men, and
okay.
American football takes up all scholarships.
Yeah.
So we have a women's team, which has women's football team, who is full scholarships. Their full thing, their full ride is paid for. And they couldn't do that for the men's.
Mm,
Anyway, I mean, I go to every single match. I think it's a great time, and that's a pretty common sentiment to people who follow football in America. Is most of them do enjoy the women's game. It's something that there's a lot of pride for because we actually care and those other places don't, and it's really it's really I guess upsetting's not the right word, but it's really is a downer to hear that it is kind of the case of what we perceive.
it is, but I wonder if that comes down to geography again. So wherever you're born in this country, you are within 10 to 15 miles of a city and a ground, unless you're like tip of Cornwall or anything like that. Again, I get the feeling like your college and high school level of sport is vastly superior to ours because you care about it. You can bet on it, for example. You can't over here. When I was at school, half the games were cancelled because the opposition couldn't put a full team out because it's not important to us because we've got our men's team and that is where all the effort goes into. With you guys, say if you are, who's your local or your nearest MLS team?
The closest for us is Atlanta United, which play 2.5 hours away, and they play in a football stadium. But
Exactly, yeah. So you've got to go 2.5 hours to your nearest MLS game, or if your local college women are playing down the road, you're gonna. And I wonder if that's got something to do with it because
probably.
you can go the same distance, see our women play in Solihull, or you can actually go and see Solihull Moors men's team play. And it's and then it comes down to football has always been the man's game, and we're blokes and we don't care about them birds. Go and do some washing up and do the ironing. There's an element of that to it as well, unfortunately, but it is a shame. Yeah, you're right. It is a shame.
Uh, something just small tangent, but you're just talking about your high school. I mean, for us, I guess our high school rivalries are your, footballing rivalries with like
Mm,
Villa, because for us, we had for a high school game for high school American football, we would have I don't know 5,000, 10,000 people, and we were
yeah,
small. We were a small
God,
school. Um, we had I remember we there was a rivalry we had with the school probably 15 minutes away,
mm,
and we they hadn't beaten us in like 15 years, but they had a good quarterback that there was a chance he could beat us.
mm.
So we had some of our students, high school students, sneak into their locker room, plant syringes in the locker room, and then accuse them of
Oh my
using
God,
steroids.
that's
Yeah.
brilliant. That's awesome. Oh,
it,
we should do that with Villa. Yeah,
Lost your chance.
the when I played football at school, the crowd was about 30, and they were all parents. Our school games aren't open to the public. University games possibly aren't open to the public either. If they are, they're not advertised particularly well. It's just yeah, until you get to that elite level sport, which for us goes down as far as the Conference League. And I mean, my technically my local team is Hensford Town, who are so far down the leagues, like, you can't see them. Um, but no, certainly anything school level, no one's interested in.
Wild. It's
Yeah.
so weird relative.
I genuinely think it's a geography thing. I do. I think if your local team was the school, you'd care more. But because our local team is up the road,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So just today, let's just talk about the match we had today. You
Oh God.
guys probably one of the worst wins I've seen in a long time. I mean, that
Don't take it
was
away from us.
it was it. I think what today before before ever I saw more people who I'm going to pronounce the name wrong. I know. Will Karanka, is that his name?
Yeah, Karanka, yeah.
Yeah, I think today caused more people to say, "Yeah, we're done." It's
Mm.
surprising with the win because if you haven't watched, Birmingham City finally won a match 1-0. Um, and they were down. Sheffield Wednesday was down to 10 men, and he finally scored. Finally had the foot on the foot on the throat, ready to do this, and he parks the bus.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, it invites a load of pressure. We took off our most dangerous player, arguably, in Jeremy Bella. Our second most dangerous player in Ivan Sanchez. Took both of them off. Put two centre backs on. One who turns as slow as the Titanic. Um, uh, yeah, I don't. On one hand, I get it. We finally picked up a win. We're fighting relegation. He needed to secure these 3 points, throw two centre backs on. But the minute you take all creativity off that pitch, you are essentially saying we're open for business. Come at us, and that's what they did. And the team that's down to 10 men losing 1-0 is going to come at you. And if it wasn't for Neil Etheridge's immense save in about the 90th minute, we would have only picked up a point. But it's three. It doesn't solve the problem. It maybe papers over the cracks for a week.
Neil Etheridge, he has to be the best keeper in all the championship. He
Mm.
just, unfortunately, that back line is just so.
Yeah, it's, what doesn't it? We've got Mikel San Jose, who's played 7 games for the Spanish national side. I can only assume that the rest of Spain were ill on those 7 weeks, or come down with a flu or something, or he's won a raffle or won the lottery. Somehow he's got into that team. He wasn't picked on technical ability, but he's played for them 7 times. He's played for, I think it was Real Betis. He's a name. He's a star essentially to come to us, and he's utter crap. He's useless. He's slow. He's usually players will go to La Liga or the MLS or something like that at the end of the career to slow down slightly. You definitely don't go to the Championship, which is where he's decided to come and try and ply his trade, and it's just not working. You can see that once upon a time there was a good player with vision. He certainly is not that now, and he certainly shouldn't be playing centre back for us. Next to him, you got Harley Dean, who cares more about breeding dogs than he does football at the moment. You got Christian Pedersen, who was brilliant last season. Then Watford apparently put in a £10 million bid for him, and then he just went to utter rubbish. If I could get like a time machine, if anyone was to lend me a DeLorean, I will go back and snap Watford's hand off for that 10 million because he's useless now. But then we got Max Collin on the right, and George Friend has come in, who I think are gods among men. So it's a mix, really. And we've got what's his name on loan, Jake Clark-Salter, who is also a very talented. I think he's an England under-23 player at the moment. So the ability is there, and I think that's what annoys us in general. So you got Max Collin, George Friend, and Clark-Salter, all quality players. Neil Etheridge, as you said, easily one of the best keepers in the Championship by far. Jeremy Bella on his day is unplayable. Ivan Sanchez scored a goal against, I think it was Cardiff, Middlesbrough, I think. One of them. He danced around 4 players and put it in the back of the net. It was majestic. Scott Hogan, when he played for us the first time he came to us on loan last season,
So good.
You couldn't stop him. You just could not stop him. But they're all set up to fail, and that's the problem. They're set up completely wrong. We've got last game we played Djukovic, who's our big, tall target man. Our tactic is kick the ball long, hope Djukovic gets his head on it, and hope it goes in the back of the net. Played him, but he didn't play Bella and Sanchez, our 2 wingers. So there's no one crossing the ball into the big bloke. Today, we played Bella and Sanchez, and we put Scott Hogan, who's about 4'2". There's no logic to the tactics, and I think that's why you see all this cranker out stuff. Because I can load up Football Manager now, and I can get success with that team. It's simple. It's a typical British stereotype to say, "Oh, play 4-4-2." But just try 4-4-2 because you know what? It works. And I think that's why you've seen so many cranker outs, is because although we won and we are chuffed to bits with that win, he's still gave them every opportunity to throw it away.
See, that was the thing with us because we have to, for the most part, because I don't want to pay for Blues TV. Sorry, not doing it.
No, no,
Uh,
preaching to
um,
the choir.
but I am so we'll find some completely 100% legal streams. You know,
Obviously,
and last year we were watching, before everything just fell apart
yeah.
with the world. Uh, we, I am, Big Juke. He's over here on corners. All you have to do
Mm.
is just loft it up. He's going to
Put it
be
on his head, easy,
yeah.
easy. Yeah,
And
the guy's made to score headers. But for some, Scott Hogan did an interview. We've got a local journalist called Brian Dick. He's probably the best local journalist we've got. He did an interview with him in which he said, Scott Hogan, before us, he played for the Villa, and then
yeah,
before them, he played for Brentford. He was crap at the Villa, brilliant at Brentford. He came to us and did this interview, and he said, "This is the most fun I've ever had playing football because Djukovic does all the hard work. He battles, he gets pushed around, he brings the ball down, he holds it up. He's brilliant." Hogan said, "All I've got to do is make sure I'm in the right place at the right time to tap it in," and that's what Hogan does. He's a tapping merchant. He himself, the player himself, has said, "Playing with Djukovic is the best time of my career." Kranker has played them together once. It doesn't make sense. The player himself has said, "I am best when you put me next to him." Put him next to him, and that would be a 4-4-2 formation that he refuses to play.
well, isn't that what everybody said? Is that
Mm.
every single strength that the team has, he wants to do the opposite of.
The exact opposite, yeah.
He came in. I knew about him beforehand. Um, he was a defensive guy. Every single team he's
Mm.
been at was extremely defensive. Maybe not Roy Hodgson level of park the
Yeah,
bus, but
yeah.
still loves the play, I guess, possession. But
Mm.
that's just not Birmingham City.
It's not us, and it's never been us. I am a career right back, an absolutely terrible, terrible right back. So I appreciate a good defensive display that gets my juices flowing. But at some point, you've got to attack as well because you can't just draw 40 odd games and stay up. And that's the predicament we're in now. We need to pick up wins. So today was a massive step towards that. But then we had the Wickham game, I think it was, where we made one sub. Was that the one we made one sub? Was that the one where he got sent off? I don't know. There was two games. There was Wickham and Luton, I think it was. And it just doesn't make subs. Well, the game is there for the taking, and he doesn't take that game. And when he does make subs, they're defensive and they make no sense. And we take off our attacking players for, as today, Mark Robertson, San Jose. It could have all gone tits up. Luckily, it didn't.
I mean, so I get that the very ending of last year wasn't perfect,
It was
but
horrific.
I mean, it was, yeah, but at least Pep seemed like he had a pulse on the squad.
Yeah, Pep got a bad run of it, really. I like Pep on a personal level. He's a very, very nice bloke. But we've got Dongren, who is essentially playing his football manager fantasy, picking the team and telling us how to play. When we were bought a few years ago, they wanted to play this tiki-taka, pass it round the back, nice, sexy football,
That doesn't
slowly
work in
working
the
up the pitch.
championship.
Exactly. It doesn't work in the championship. Certainly doesn't work with us. Leeds may have had some success with it to an extent, but even they were counter-attacking. But he's determined to play this, and it's never going to work with us. So we bought Jota, who was all right until it got a bit cold and he's a bit scared of the snow, so he stopped playing. We had Villalba, who was too busy flirting with his missus on Instagram. And we just bought these players who should be able to play like that, but you can't do that overnight. And Pep was left basically after Monk went, we were left with Pep, and he was told by Dong essentially, "This is the style of football we want. We want it to be exciting. Do that." And he was between a rock and a hard place because he wants to perform in his role at the same time. He's got a dick of a boss telling him what to do.
I mean, so just kind of going with like just the style of like the tiki taka, let's be real sexy football.
Mm.
I mean, Leeds probably had the sexiest brand of football, and if you compare that to anything else of any other top flight, league out there, they were pretty standard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah.
I mean, everything I've watched is the championship, just kind of like a lot of, I guess you would call them lower leagues. The championship's not a low league; it's just not top flight. It's physical. It's run it down your throat and then counterattack when the other team's bad at it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And that's why when teams drop down from the Premier League, a lot of the time they don't bounce straight back up again because they've got luxury players who like having time and space on the ball. You come down to the Championship, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting that. You will if you play against Birmingham City because we barely put a challenge in. But for most teams, you won't get that. And you can't play that nice. Like, that's why Villa had such a pain in the arse getting back up. It took them 3 seasons to get up because they tried to play that same Premier League slow style and it didn't happen. So they had to buy better players, essentially, more suited to this league. And we've signed Sanchez is great, but he spent his whole life, as far as I'm aware, in the Spanish system, the Spanish leagues, which is a lot slower, and that's why San Jose is too slow because they brought up in this slower system. Exactly what you said. Championship is you better pass that ball quickly, or we're going to run through you like a steam train. And the lower down the leagues you go, the worse that gets as well.
I mean, so I kind of want to get to this before, keep you up way too late.
I've got all night. I'm with you all night, as long as you want.
Well, my computer battery can't make it all night.
Oh.
So just a little insight. We moved into this new house probably 2 weeks ago. I did an interview with Mikey Lopez
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes after my power got turned on. We've been living here for 5 days without power because
Oh,
they just
no way.
couldn't turn it on. And it's an old house, and half the outlets in my room don't work. I set up my desk for a little office space. I have 3 outlets within 5 feet of me. None of them work. So I pretty much just charge it before the interview and just pray.
Fair enough.
So I ran some polls on Twitter to try to get some feedback from the Birmingham City crowd.
Okay.
And the first one is a Kronka out or Kronka in. And I'd had just want to see results. So they're not going to equal 100%, okay?
Okay.
But a lot of these have 100 plus results, or so I think it's a fair amount of votes.
Yeah.
Okay. 68% it says Karanka out, 9% say in. So only 9%
Right.
of fans are saying, hey, we're tired of manager turnover. Most of you guys are just, we want him out. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree, and I wonder if that number would be even lower, the Karanka in number, if we hadn't won today.
I did this poll beforehand, actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm inclined. I've tried to support him, and us on Fat Lads Going Goal have tried to support him, but it gets to the point where you just go, you know what, enough's enough. There's only one way we're going. Every game that he's in charge is 3 points gifted to the opposition, other than today. My big thing with Cranker is we need, and the team in general need, a catalyst for change, and I don't see where that comes from, and I certainly don't think it's Cranker. I think we need someone in who will just play the basics and look like he cares, to be honest, because Cranker certainly doesn't.
Next one is the big dong himself. Is he in or he's out? 85% want him out.
Yeah. He to me is the main problem in our club at the moment. A lot of people want to pin it on the owners. The owners, actually, to give them their dues, when they came in, spent a hell of a lot of money. We failed what we call the financial fair play rules. Basically, we spent too much. There's a cap of you can only spend X amount compared to your losses, basically. So we overspent is the long and short of it. That shows to me a sign of ambition because they've tried to do something, and we are trying to buy players. I think our owners are trying, but unfortunately, they've put this maniacal dictator in charge, and that's where the problems lie.
Next one. Well, you know what? I'll save the next one for last.
Okay.
So I asked, are you worried about the club if they were to fall down to League One? In which 56 said I'm terrified, and only 18% said we'll bounce back up.
I don't necessarily think we'll bounce back up, but it depends what the context of it is, really. I'm not worried about the club folding or anything. I'm worried that we won't see Championship football for a fair few years. But then if we drop all the way down to the conference, I'd still go and watch them. It doesn't really make too much difference to me. It's just the standard will be a lot worse, but maybe the tickets will be cheaper.
This is also true.
Silver linings.
I guess the fear is always becoming Sutherland.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the documentary Sunderland Till I Die,
So
which
good.
it's great because when they made that, they obviously thought, well, Sunderland will bounce straight back up again. So it's all full of optimism, and then they drop down and down and down and down, and you see the faces kind of turn. Then they make the next series and say, well, they're obviously going to bounce up now, aren't they? No, they're not. They're going to completely mess that up, and now they're in dire straits. And that is the worry that we become the next Sunderland, the next Ipswich, the next Bolton and Bury, and yeah, it is worrying.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
So before we get back to that last question, I want to give some, I guess, context of how many people or the how long these people have been fans of the Blues.
Mm,
So 13% said they were fans for, from 1 to 10 years of
mm,
the club. Most was 59% said they were fans for 20 to 35 years. So long time. They've seen a lot of ups and downs. Not saying for 35 to 50 years, and I had 9% saying they were fans for 50 plus years, and then 38 who said 10 to 20. So a large amount of fans who have been fans for 20 to 50 years, and we're seeing results of I'm worried about the club if we go down,
mm.
or we want Dong out, or we want Karenka out. And then the last one, which is why I wanted to put that in context, I asked if you supported the players, and
Oh,
only 47% said they supported the players still.
okay. Do I support? I support the shirt they're wearing, and I support the badge they're playing, supposedly playing for. There are certain players that you can see are putting the effort in. Gary Gardner will run his socks off. Djukovic clearly cares. Hogan seems to really care. At one point, I think he was playing left back just to try and get the ball the other day. There are players there that care. I don't buy into this whole they're paid X amount, therefore they should be better at their jobs thing. I don't like it when people throw footballers' wages at them as again a stick to beat them with. It's not their fault. Someone offered me that much money, I'd say yes as well. But it is what it is. Um, the problem is with football. Back in the day, you were generally the championship in particular would have been full, or Division One as it was, would have been full of English, Scots, Irish, Welsh players, and the odd European. Nowadays, it's a much more global business. You would get club journeymen, for example. Whenever we lose on Twitter, you will see the likes of Paul Devlin, Martin O'Connor, all these ex-players who think they should have the manager job for whatever reason. They will come on and they will talk about the club because they would have played season after season for us. You don't tend to get that anymore. So I think fans sometimes expect a level of loyalty from the players that is unrealistic because at the end of the day, these players are playing for money. For money. However, you would hope that they would put a bit more effort in than they have been recently. The problem is um, they're career failures at this point. All those that have been with us the last 2 or 3 years have witnessed relegation battle after relegation battle. Mentally, that's hard. And this is why I mentioned the money thing, because people seem to think that if you pay someone thousands of pounds a week, they don't have a mental health balance at all. That's not the case. You can pay someone millions. If they're not enjoying their job, they're not enjoying their job. If they're negative, they're negative. I don't think no matter how much you pay Harley Dean, if he's down on his job, he's not going to be a good captain of the club. Um, so, do I support him? I suppose. Yes. Do I trust them to get us out of this mess? No. Do I blame them for this mess? Partly. That's the most honest answer I can give you.
Well, I think it's really interesting what you brought up with, you're paying them this amount of money. They should be doing blank.
Mm,
So for people who are listening on your side of the pond, a podcast I listen to quite often is the Pat McAfee Show. He was a punter for the Indianapolis Colts. I think he played professional football in Europe for a while until he discovered American football.
mm,
Until he realized he could just kick the mess out of a ball for and then get paid millions of dollars for it. Um, and he's talked about a lot of times of this isn't a video game. Players aren't video games. They don't just go out and play to their overall per se. He
mm,
was like, players go through breakups, they go through divorces,
Yeah.
they have things happen in their family, or sometimes they just get sad. And he was
Mhm.
like, I
Yep.
want you to think about your 9 to 5 job. And, you and your wife got into a fight last night. Do you do your office job perfectly as you would
Mm.
have if you went in happy? And for me, that put a lot of professional sports into perspective. And I hope that a lot of fans view it the way you do, I guess,
Mm.
of there's only so much they can do, and we're all humans, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I dread to think how much we're paying San Jose. It's too much, whatever it is. But that pass back uh, on Wednesday, I think it was, where he slowly rolled the ball back to Etheridge, and then Jed Wallace, I think it was, picked the ball up and stuck it in the back of the net. 2 minutes into the game, you can't account for that. You can't. There is something. San Jose hasn't thought, I don't give a shit about this club, therefore I'm going to slowly pass it back. It was a mistake. It is the fact that he's been brought up in a slower league. It's the maybe he just took his eye off the ball, unfortunately. And Clayton did it a few weeks back, where he should have put the ball out for a goal for a corner. Instead, he let their striker take it off him and put it in the net. Coventry, I think that was. Players switch off, and when they're losing week after week after week, that is going to take a battering on you. Imagine going to work every day and your boss saying you are crap, and then every colleague you've got, because essentially that's what we're doing, is telling them they're crap every day. You're not going to perform, unfortunately, and I think that's the problem they're in. They're just in this rut. But the issue we've got is when I come back to the catalyst thing. Karanka isn't that man to motivate them. Gary Monk was. Gary Rowett certainly was. Karanka isn't. He's the wrong manager for the predicament we're in, and he was always the wrong manager to bring into a club that is in relegation limbo, where every year we're just fighting and fighting and fighting.
I think unfortunately for Karenka himself, which I doubt he ever sees anything that I say about him. I
You
doubt
might do.
it. There's a chance. If you're listening to this, hey. Um, but he uh almost all of his post match interviews, it's the boys didn't try hard enough. They weren't doing enough, or they didn't do what I set them out to do. And I think when it first started, it's like he's demanding more from them. Great. We love this. We love a guy who's willing to tell the players how it is. But then after it's week after week after week after month, it's
Mm.
like, when's he going to take a real accountability? Because I know he said in an interview recently, maybe within the last couple of days, the fans can give me criticism or whatever. It's fine. Um, but he's not saying that post game interview. He's not saying
Yeah.
I had bad tactics. I don't, I'm so sorry. This is on me. He's saying the players aren't doing this,
Mm.
which I think a lot of fans have caught on to. But I think also a lot of fans are thinking they're letting that seep in and say the players just aren't doing enough. This is on them, and obviously they want Cranka out, but they're also like the players are just not doing what he's asking of them anymore.
Yeah, definitely, and that was part of the issue we had with Cottrell. We had him before. Oh, I lose track. We had him before Monk, didn't we? So a couple of years ago now, and he was the same. Every interview, it was like a bad SNL sketch where he just wouldn't take any accountability for anything, and it was like you were watching a parody of a football manager give an interview. It was horrific, and that's why we didn't warm to him. Before him, we had Zola. Zola was rubbish, but you could tell he was giving his all. He just wasn't cut out for the job. Cottrell may have been giving his all, but he certainly didn't show that he was, and he just didn't seem to care. And that's the problem with Karanka. He's doing these interviews where he's shrugging his shoulders and, well, the other day he said we're going down, essentially. He said we're going to get relegated. Well, cheers for that, mate. There's one person who can solve that, mate, and that's you doing the interview now. So do something about it. Um, and then not to kick Harley Dean again, but we lost on Wednesday, and George Friend did the post game interview. We won today. Harley Dean did the post game interview. That's a weird coincidence because he again won't take accountability. Once a year, he'll come out and do this big interview where he says, "Yeah, it's us. We can dig ourselves out of this." Still never blames himself. He's the club captain. Your job, if nothing else, because captains don't really do a lot. It's not like your quarterback calling the plays. Your job is just to be there and shout a bit. It doesn't even do that. And that's what gets my goat because that looks like he doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, for for you guys, I guess more so for us is, I mean, your dad obviously drug you to games. and
Yeah,
his dad probably brought him to games, and
yeah.
then so on. So, and it's a full generation thing.
Mm.
And so, I guess for a lot of fans, subliminally, it feels like he is, when he doesn't care, it's like saying he doesn't care about you.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah, yeah.
And
And again, this is where we hold them to an unfair standard, really. Because why would he? He's a Cockney. He's not going to care about Birmingham. He played for Brentford most of his career. And I don't know how much he cared about them. Well, he didn't because he left them for us. He's not going to care, unfortunately. But Birmingham City fans are quite easy to please. Run around and pretend you care. That'll do for us. But he can't even be asked to do that, and that's the problem.
wasn't that kind of the thing? I mean, just talking about Birmingham, the city, not Birmingham City.
Mm.
I mean, it's blue collar workers. These are
Yeah, it
guys.
is.
I mean, it's very similar to our Birmingham. We're formed off the steel mill.
Mm.
That's if little Birmingham, Alabama history lesson. We're called the Magic City because the city popped up overnight like magic. Because there's a river uh, right beside the city, and there is iron ores and all that stuff, and there was coal all in the same vicinity. So it became perfect for steel mills to pop up, and industrial. It popped up out of nowhere. So fans here, they appreciate when we score. They really like that. Obviously, we went for when we first started. I think we went 4 home matches, our first 4 home matches as a club without scoring. And when we finally did, everybody celebrated. It was a great time. But every single person loses their mind when we have a gritty, gutsy, just 1-0 win when we just put on a defensive masterclass. And it's always like, oh, they really care because they're willing to get down, get dirty, possibly get injured, make all these crazy saves for us, the hardworking people. And I'm sure it's probably the same thing for you guys.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And that's the same. Like whenever we play Villa, we had a player Ryan Shotton who had dreadlocks. He dyed them blue for that game. No one asked him to, but he did it because he knew we'd appreciate it. And in the first 2 minutes of that game, Michael Kieftenbeld, who's no longer playing for us, snapped their star player in half, just went straight through him. Got himself a yellow card, probably put himself out of the game for 89 minutes, but he did that for us. And you kind of think, you know what, we're going to lose now because of that, but thanks anyway. And yeah, there's an element of playing for the badge. And I suppose you are right. I've never really thought about it like that, but it is essentially playing for us. And yeah, we do take it personally, I suppose. But then, as I say, the flip side is why should they?
Yeah.
They're just here for the money. It's an awkward one, really. But that's why whenever you get a homegrown boy like Jude Bellingham, who spent the whole of last season trying to drag these veterans to his level, that's why when he does leave, it sort of brings a tear to your eye because you could see the pride in him.
There was a It was really unfortunate because he got injured, but
Mm,
last week Dortmund played Hoffenheim,
mm.
which was a really exciting match, and I was really looking forward to this, but unfortunately he got hurt. But the two Birmingham boys were supposed to play against each other. A Birmingham native, Birmingham, Alabama, Chris Richards, was starting, just got sent on loan to Hoffenheim,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was supposed to play Dortmund
Mm.
that day, which had Jude Bellingham. So we're supposed to have, um, I think it was Jude was he a right wing or was he
He generally will play sort of centre mid.
center
He's
mid?
more of a defensive centre mid normally.
And then Chris is basically being used as a center back. So we're about to see two Birmingham, one from Alabama,
Mm,
one from the UK go head to head in the
yeah.
Bundesliga, which I was so excited for. I thought that would have been really cool moment, at least for the Twitter fans, and nobody else would care, but it would have been fun.
Yeah, yeah, it would. I mean, I've never really cared about the Bundesliga until Bellingham went there. He got an assist today. They beat Schalke, I think it was 4-0.
They're so bad.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. But I couldn't tell you about German football until Bellingham went there. I couldn't tell you about well your football until we started this thing. And now the three things on my Twitter are both Birmingham's and Dortmund, because that's what it means to us. We will follow anyone who shows an affection for us. Really, it's kind of like we're desperate for attention and we need loving, but that's what it is really.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. Just very strange. We had Keep Right On played a few times at the
Mm,
matches. We there's a few times that it's been sang at the matches now for us, and there's I don't know if it's going to happen. Just small rumor, I guess, because we are a new club. We're trying to find cultural identity, I
mm,
guess, and a lot of people are like, "Screw it, let's sing it after we score. That'll be fun."
mm.
And so, yeah, just with a year ago, I guess just over a year ago, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. So,
Yeah.
just this interview itself. So, completely wild that that the internet was used for mostly bad those few weeks, but then it turned into
Yeah.
something completely great.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And we obviously we see all the videos of you lot watching our games in the pub and singing and all the photos and everything and getting up at getting drunk in the morning, which I'm always up for. And yeah, your rendition of Keeper was on. I was on. Is it the Birmingham Backline podcast? Is that a
they
podcast?
it is a podcast. They aren't really doing much anymore, which was
They're not.
horrible because they made amazing content. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they had me on. They had me record a 10-minute thing for them, in which I sang a bit of Keep Price on it, and with that, it's the guttural. You're almost shouting it. It's almost like a war chant rather than a song, and that was kind of the worry that some blues fans had, is that you'd bring a drum in and maybe a trumpet, and it would be nicened up a bit. When we sing it, it's almost like it's our version of the haka, essentially, like New Zealand doing the rugby.
that's the thing is I think whenever we did sing in Stadium that there was no drum and no trumpet. Last year,
No,
no trumpets were allowed because aerosols or something. I don't know. I think everybody getting sweaty and throwing beer on each other is
yeah.
not going to spread any less COVID than someone playing a trumpet. But what do I know?
Yeah,
But
we've seen the videos of you singing it, and you sing it very well.
well,
I'm very proud of you.
thanks. They probably can't the southern accents, man. If anybody is not from either England or is not from the South, they're probably listening to this podcast right now, listening to both of our accents, going, "I have no idea what's going
Yeah,
on right now."
I was going to say before we started this, if you need me to slow down my talking or anything, just let me know.
Uh, I know I can run it on thick, and I'm sure it's the same way for you. But I have family members that I need a translator for. I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying. Their accent is just so heavy, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Ever heard somebody pronounce the word fire as far, like FAR?
No.
Because that is most of my family. They'll pronounce it as far, and drives me nuts.
We have I live in a place called the Black Country. We have what we call yam yams, and that is essentially a different language. Instead of you, it's yow. Um, Dog is yaml. I don't know how, but dog is yaml. A Black Country phrase, am yow taking yow yaml down the bunk, which means, are you taking the dog for a walk? I've no idea how you get from one of those sentences to the other, but honestly, real thick Black Country is essentially a different language. And I'm surrounded by that every day. So yeah, I often need a translator.
I I didn't know I needed to know that phrase. I'm gonna drop that on my roommates, and whenever they get home, oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, well, Mark, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on. I know it's late, so I'll let you go, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed every second. As I say, anytime you want me, I'm here.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Cheers.